What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Beyond Your Upline. So today I wanted to talk about roadmaps and specifically the treasure of the roadmap. What am I talking about? Well, let's get to it.
How do you build a successful business in network marketing when everyone you know thinks it's a scam? How do you achieve that dream lifestyle when 99% of distributors quit within their first year, broke and worse off than when they started? If you ask the so-called experts or talk to your family and friends, they will tell you that it's impossible, that it can't be done. But it is being done, and it's happening each and every day by a select group of people that you probably never even heard of. My name is James Cuilty. Join me as I seek to find out how these elite few beat the odds and succeed in network marketing. Welcome to Beyond Your Upline.
So we've all read Treasure Island before, haven't we? Maybe you haven't, but when I was a kid, we read that, and I became fascinated with finding buried treasure and looking for that secret map, and then fast forward a few years later, I loved that movie by Disney with Nicolas Cage, National Treasure, and also the second one. I found it fascinating, finding a treasure map and going on an adventure to try and find this hidden treasure. So you're probably asking yourself, what are you talking about? And what I mean by finding a treasure or the treasure map, I'm talking about your goals, right? But specifically, what is the goal that you are trying to accomplish, right? The treasure. And I wanted to kind of talk this, we're getting closer to the end of the year, because I found myself again, not only getting off track, but I was losing my focus and also my momentum, not because I was getting lazy, but because I wasn't focusing in on the treasure, so to speak, right? And what do I mean by that? So when all of us get into business, what's the number one thing or the main reason why we get into business, right? It's because we want to make X amount of money, right? $5,000, $10,000. I want to get out of my job. Well, in order to do that, you have to basically replace what you're currently making. What is that? 50, 60, 70, 100,000, whatever, that may be, right? But what we forget, and I forgot this, is that it's not the money. The money does not excite you. That's not the treasure, right? The treasure is obviously, the gold or, the money that you want to accomplish through your business, but you just don't want just to have money, There's a specific thing that you want to buy with that money, right? What will that money purchase for you? And so I know I'm kind of like all over the place, but just kind of stick with me, because there is a reason to this. So my goal that I had set for myself, I'm looking at my goal list, and I always like to review this, especially towards like the end of the year, was I wanted to generate $10,000 dollars in personal income, right, from my business. But I found myself really getting unmotivated. I'm like, I'm getting kind of tired, and I really don't, feel like really like doing this anymore. And it wasn't that I was becoming lazy. What I had forgotten was it's not the money itself. That $10,000 in and of itself, that's not what my ultimate goal was. My ultimate goal was, one, I wanted to allow my wife to cut back on her working schedule so she could be home a little bit more with the family. And then I also I wanted to buy or take my family on a family vacation, because it's been a while since we've been on a family vacation, right? And so that dollar amount that I wanted to generate, that was the key, so to speak, in order for me to send my family or take my family on a family vacation, right? To allow my wife to cut back on her hours. That was the main goal. The money itself was just the tool that was going to allow me to accomplish that. Does that make any sense? And I think a lot of us, we tend to forget the money is not the goal or the end all be all. The money is just the key to something else that we want. So with your goals, do you find yourself kind of struggling? Do you find yourself you kind of avoiding, putting in the work, or do you find yourself like it's almost like you're waking up in the morning, you're not excited about building your business. You're just more. It's more tedious, and it seems like it's more of a have to do instead of a want to do, right? Does that make any sense? Because that's where I was feeling, especially in these last few weeks, and it was because I was trying to focus in on the money as the goal and forgetting that that's not what I really wanted. I don't really want the money. That $10,000, $20,000, even if I make $1 million, that doesn't matter. That doesn't excite me. What excites me is what I would be able to do with that money. And currently, right now, my main goal is I want my wife to be able to spend more time at home. Number 2, I want to take our family on a family vacation. We have not been in a while. And so that was the goal. So if you're looking at your goals, especially now as we're winding down this this year and getting ready to move into a new year, looking at your goal. So what is your goal? And maybe you had a money goal, which is phenomenal, which is great. Okay. But, I always like to give kind of like, steps and roadmaps, treasure maps, so to speak, like I was talking about earlier, because that allows us to, 1, find the treasure, but then number 2, once you acquire that, what is you're going to use that treasure for, right? So with your goal, do you have a money goal, 5,000? Let's just say that you wanted to, you had like $5,000 a month in your business, right? That's what you wanted to make. Well, what is it that you want to do with that $5,000, right? So for me, I wanted to take my family on a family vacation, right? And the one that I had planned out, it was going to cost us, roughly about, give or take, it was about $5,000. It could be like a little bit more, but I'm just rounding out the numbers just to make it easy, right? And then for my wife, to cut back, we were gonna need an additional $2,000 to $3,000 extra in order to allow her to do that, right? So that puts me at about roughly $8,000, right? And the additional $2,000 was for us because obviously I want for us to start saving, right? But knowing what my ultimate goal is and then being able to break that down, how much is that going to cost? Okay, great. Now I know why I'm focusing in on this dollar amount, right? And then for you, once you've done that, let's say you want a new car, or let's say you want to leave your job ultimately, okay? So, well, how much are you currently making in your job? So you know that you're going to have to generate a certain amount of money each month in order to replace that, correct? Right? And then once you do that, working backwards, then the next step is okay, well, how much product do I need to sell in the marketplace in order to accomplish that? Right? And so, going back to our example, let's say you're selling and again, because I want to keep this as simple as possible, let's say your package that you're selling is $1,000, right? So for me, I would have to sell 10 of those packages a month in order for me to achieve that, right? Because $1,000, product into the marketplace, and then I wanted to make 10,000, so 10 of those products I would need to sell, right? So now you are putting together a plan. Not only this is what I ultimately want to achieve. This is what it's going to cost me. And then how much do I need to sell in order to make that amount? Does that make any sense? Because we don't, as humans, money or numbers does not excite us, but things, experiences, that's what excites us. So if you find yourself, kind of flailing, especially at the end of this year, you find yourself just not really motivated, it's usually because you are focusing in on the wrong thing, or you really haven't codified that goal or that money. What is that money that you're trying to achieve through your business? What is it you want to use that for, right? Buy a new house, buy a new car, whatever that may be. And then once you have that, now you have the goal that really excites us. Then you have the dollar amount, right? And now you just need to sit down and figure out, okay, well, what do I need to sell? What packages, within my business am I going to have to move into the marketplace in order to accomplish that? Now, obviously, I rounded everything off at 100% commission, but if you are selling somebody else's product, network marketing, affiliate marketing, obviously you're going to get a percentage of that. So you would have to take that product, you would have to find out the percentage that if you sold $100, what percentage do you get back into your pocket, right? And then once you find out that dollar amount, then you multiply that by however many customers, and then you have the amount of money that you would be making, right? You need to sell so many of those into the marketplace in order to hit your money goal. Does that make any sense? And I wanted to share this because I found myself kind of struggling too, because I was focusing on that number, which didn't really excite me. That's why I was losing all of my momentum and excitement. And then number two was I was, I don't want to say randomly, but I didn't have a specific plan or how much product or what product was I going to be moving into the marketplace, right? And how much of that was I going to be putting in my pocket, and looking at how many customers do I need to generate each month in order to hit that, right? Because once you have those numbers, then it's really easy for you to work your business, because you know how many customers you need each and every day. And what's really awesome is, like, once you do this and once you've gotten this process down, so now when you are training your own sales force, guess what? That's the exact process that you go through. There's no confusion. So when you have somebody that says, I just want to make $200 a month, and then okay, well, what are you going to do with that $200 a month? Then you have the goal. It's like, okay, well, in order to accomplish that, to buy Susie a new pair of shoes or whatever they're going to spend that money on, right? Then you say, okay, well, here is one of our most popular packages, right? This is the percentage or the commission that you get off of this package. So you're going to need to sell 20 of these each month in order to make that goal, right? And so now your people know with solid numbers and solid math what they need to do in order to accomplish their goal, and they're not they're not arbitrarily just just talking to random people, right, and just hoping to sign up a bunch of people, right? You have the numbers, and what this also does for you and your team, when there's a bottleneck or when there's somebody that's struggling, you can go back to this and you can pinpoint. Okay, you said you wanted to make $1,000 a month because you wanted to buy a new surfboard, right? I don't know how many surfboards it would cost $1,000, but let's just say, right? That's what you wanted to make, right? Well, we figured out that it was going to take, you're going to have to get 20 customers each month at this price point in order to hit that goal. How many customers did you get to? Well, I only got to one. Okay, great. Well, we need to work on that, right? So in order to hit that, we need 20. You got one. We need 19. Okay. So this is what you're going to be focusing on to get that, that number. And then you start, working through your marketing or your selling system or your marketing process in order to help them to, get those sales in the marketplace. Does that make sense? So, I wanted to share that because especially at the end of this year, a lot of us, we're not really taught we're taught, to have goals, but and okay, I take that back because I'm not going to speak in general terms. I'm going to speak for myself, right? But for me, I was never really taught how to how to specifically lay out a plan in order to achieve my goals. I was taught, to have goals and to set goals, but that was where it stopped. There was no plan, or I was told you got to have a plan, to create a plan. Well, that's great. Well, how do you do that? If I've never done it before, how am I supposed to do this? And so I wasn't really taught that, and so I struggled a long time in business until I was able, after taking course after course and reading book after book, kind of taking these little pieces and kind of putting them together. And so now I have a clear idea. Now I have a clear-cut path, the treasure map, so to speak, in order to get to my treasure. And now I know once I achieve that treasure for the purpose is to purchase whatever. Because always remember, it's not about the money, and especially for your people and also for your clients, it's not about the product. It's about what are they hoping that product will do for them, right? So even your customers, they have a certain goal or transformation. It's not the product itself. It is, because for the most part, honestly, let's just say you're selling supplements. Do people really like taking supplements? In all honesty, if we didn't have to, no, nobody would, right? But we're taking them because we want a specific outcome. We want, shorter. We want a slimmer waist. We want a lower body fat percentage. We want to get off our medication. We want better sleep. Again, these are all specifics, and your supplements help to achieve that, right? So it's not the supplement in itself. So even with your customers, this process works, right? And then obviously with your customer, you lay out a step-by-step plan. When you purchase this, we have a quick start guide, and you follow along these steps on when to take it, how to take it, with what types of food to take it in order to get that result. Does that make sense? So even with your customers, this process, still works. So I wanted to share that with you, because I know at the end of the year, we tend to kind of pull our foot off of the gas, and it's not because of the holidays and we want to kind of, relax a little bit, but it's a lot of times just because we don't know the steps, or we haven't been taught the steps, and we're focusing in on the wrong thing, which is why we end up kind of going around in circles and circles. And, a lot of people end up quitting, because they're not taught this process or how to think through things. When you go to school, we've been given everything. Here's the workbook. You do the steps, you get the right answer. Well, in life, it doesn't work like that. In life, there's, all sorts of these outside circumstances, and you kind of work through this. But if you have some sort of a framework to work from, then you can apply that to anything in order to achieve your goal. So I hope that you got some value out of this, and I hope this helped. As always, thank you so much for listening. And again, I am going to talk to you in the next episode. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you want to hear more of how the top income earners are actually building their network marketing business beyond their family and friends, please subscribe so you don't miss any of the secret hacks that I uncover.